Well, nobody finding out.
Don't. And when these things happen, like if you do it successfully in a court, people go, "Oh, I want to see your proof." Well, a lot of times they'll even charge you with something minuscule just to put on the record that you were charged, right? So in other words, like I just had a guy in North Carolina. He had, let me plug this in real quick. Sorry. He had 7 charges and walked out and could have been thousands. They were looking at, he had up to like a year in jail if they were to fully charge him with everything and all this stuff. Had 7 charges. It was mostly traffic and financial stuff. It wasn't any felonies. But anyway, he walked out. They gave him a $100 fine at the end of the day. And he was like pissed off that he lost. He was going to appeal. I said, "You're not looking at it. You're not looking at it, dude. They wanted to hang you, man, and you got a $100 fine." She was basically like, "Get the hell out of our court."
Yeah. See, what we think is happening is totally different than what's actually happening.
Right. Exactly.
Lack of knowledge. And this is something that I learned from studying your material a lot in the House of Marcus is like all these people, judges, attorneys, bailiffs, police officers, they're all our public servants. And so really they're supposed to be our trustees, and we can appoint them to be our fiduciaries to do these things on our behalf if we understand our role as the creditor. And that's basically what you did, right? With your case is you knew you were the creditor and used the instrument of the birth certificate to discharge a liability.
Right. So let's stop right there because that's a great place to explain to people why that is. I can't technically appoint them as a public servant over anything private. Okay.
Right. But
when I'm privately communicating with them and when they took my instrument and invested it for me, we're on a whole different, we're not on government citizen level. We're on business client level.
Commercial law.
Commercial law, right. And the key is that they invested my instrument into a portfolio, into a fund.
And didn't notify you.
Didn't notify me, right? But I notified them. So now if I circle my wagons back around, okay, court, we've got a problem.
Yeah.
You guys took my rights and my liberties under, you took my rights and my liberties and put me in servitude, compelled me to payment of some debt as a government when you weren't a government. You were merely a business. And that's the crux of the whole thing. And I'm like, man, this is so much easier, but we've got to get a judgment or something through so we all can rely on it and go, see, it's right here and nobody can deny it anymore.
USC 242A, I think, acting under the color of law.
Yeah, USC.
That's what they do.
18 USC, is it 242? Or no, it's 42 USC, 242 or whatever. But there's 242. Also... And there's also Title 18 criminal penalties for it, right? And that's what they do. They're a business masquerading as a government. But let me back up because everybody thinks that the United States is this huge corporation, and it is, but it's more of a company. Right? Because the company is a little different than a corporation. It functions very much similar. There's little differences. But what happens with the states is the states incorporate as businesses, which we know because we pull their Dun & Bradstreet and they're doing business as, and we can get their cage number. So basically, picture the government's this huge company, and then the states are all coming to it as subcontractors, contracting to get its funds that it owes. Right? So that's how they're passing the debt is just contractors. Like your straw man is a contractor. It is a government contractor.
A business.
What's that?
A business.
It's a business. Yeah, it's a business. Now, the trust comes in with Social Security because and just recently, talk about doing an about face. Remember, I was all on Sesta Trust and everything from birth, just like everybody else. I believed in it 100%. It was there until I started to realize last fall, wait a minute. I went back to some old recordings from a guy by the name of Ken W. You can probably find him on the internet, but he kind of went underground. Ken W. And Ken used to say, man, that trust stuff and all is bullshit. I've been doing that for years and nothing ever worked. It wasn't until I went into court and treated this as a registered organization, that's when they started freaking out, right? I didn't treat it as a trust. I didn't tell the judge he was a trustee and all this stuff.
Right.
So, it's understanding that they just look at it as business.
It's all business.
When I go in now I say, you know what? I am a trustee. I'm a trustee over the trust I created. Here's where you guys created a trust. It's called Social Security. That we have proof of because why? It's in the Social Security Act. It's right there in the Act. It tells you. Yeah, it tells you who the trustees are and everything, right?
Yep.
So there's an express trust by the Social Security Act. So maybe we should explain how that actually, how do you actually get the funds? So to speak, right?
That everybody wants to know.
Yeah, like how does this actually work? Well, this is my estimation over all these years. So I went on to the IRS website. Was it IRS? I think it was the Treasury. And I found it was either a Treasury, Social Security, somewhere, but it's on our website. It's on the House of Market site for members. And it's a PDF from one of their economists that is laying out what they do with Social Security. What they do is they go, we hedge against your Social Security account. We invest against it until you file for benefits. Yeah. Once you file for benefits, we put your little bit back in. See?
Huh.
So they have all the calculations of how much you've paid in. They hedge that against, the market or whatever, they invest in it. Then when you're ready to retire or you're ready for Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, they put it back in, that little bit. But think about this. Without notifying you and without your account number and your name, they couldn't have hedged all that in the market, because where's that coming from? That's coming from when you signed up for a driver's license, when you got a credit card, when you got a mortgage, when you signed your name on just about anything.
Yeah.
That's where the value is coming from. It's not like this pot of gold that's sitting in a trust account. It's in many, many, many accounts all together that make up the value that they didn't tell you you created.
Yeah.
So you have an interest in it, and that's where your value comes from. That's where your millions, so to speak, or whatever.
Okay, so for those who may not understand this completely, what we're saying is they collateralize our human labor at birth, and that's what they're essentially backing debt on or money on, is the credit of our labor over our whole lifetime. So basically you're worth this giant lump sum of credit in their eyes. And so that's why your signature creates the money, because they need you to sign off to pull the credit from you, essentially, because you're what's backing the money rather than gold as it used to be. So that's why your signature actually creates money. And of course, you've been lied to and told that you're borrowing money from a bank who's loaning it to you. But really all they're doing is tapping into your Treasury direct account, loaning it to you or whatever. And you're none the wiser, right?
None the wiser. Yeah. And you're loaning them the money, they're turning around and giving it back to you and charging you interest for it. That is usury, not to mention peonage.
Right.
It's really that simple. Now taxes simply go to pay the interest. So it's no more than making a minimum payment on a credit card. That's all your taxes are doing. The principal never goes down because you're driving the debt up.